Welcome to Chronicle. In the crosshairs of the International Criminal Court, accused of about 1,000 crimes against humanity, from murders to political persecution, including deprivation of human rights, torture, cruelty, degrading treatment, extermination and public executions, a man convinced that he owns the blood of the entire Venezuelan people, S. Maduro, the self-proclaimed president, head of a nation that burned an investigative journalist alive. In the video, he is using the cameras to send an intimidating message to the civilian part of the village of Guadé.
Que la piense bien lo que está haciendo, que es un hombre joven, que le quedan muchos años de lucha, que no le haga más daño al país, que abandone la estrategia golpista, que deje de simular una presidencia.
Giving carte blanche to mercenaries who recently charged a group of protesters, tearing out the eyes and swollen the faces of some women. Officially, the U.S. Supreme Court wants the head of this gentleman. The White House has expressed its intention to stop him. Italy and Germany have done so. So the real question is, why can't Maduro be stopped? If you're wondering, Venezuela doesn't even have a quarter of the weapons needed to counter any of the countries mentioned. Who is supporting the president who repeatedly tramples on the Venezuelan people? Russia is buying oil and natural gas from Venezuela. The images you are looking at were taken by me in 2019 on a trip to Caracas. Getting a camera into the country is not easy. These few excerpts were made with a trivial smartphone. The oil problem is also the root of the enslavement of Venezuelans, who are often deprived of their possessions, at the discretion of the government that uses dispossession for whatever reason. The Trump administration had expressed itself in favor of a forced operation that would have as its purpose the arrest of Maduro, but with Biden's takeover of the White House, America decides not to attack Maduro, but only to sanction. The Biden-Maduro agreement provides for the payment of sanctions on oil exports, and the promise to improve the Venezuelan economy. Think about it. As long as the White House collects the payments of those sanctions, and Russia receives the raw material that enters the country with a markup of 500 to 1, why on earth after using the terms collect and receive these powers would stop or arrest those who are enriching them? Finally, Venezuelan resources have been used for this mischievous attempt by the Kremlin to conquer Ukraine. The agreements between these countries are public and are online, but in all these agreements and diplomatic handshakes, we must be careful that the information does not leave Venezuela. I have tried to interview several people in Venezuela through social media. Between those who do not respond and those who are afraid of repercussions, there is not a single Venezuelano who has not witnessed or suffered the parade of the manchial war machine of Maduro's mercenaries. A rape committed by a mercenary cannot be punished, and it is not expected to be punished. Those who try to release videos and documentation can be shot. During the return trip from Venezuela, me and those who were in the same car were searched 11 times from Maracaibo to the border. They look for money and inspect the phone. The video I showed you was uploaded to Instagram. Then I deleted the video and the application. My phone was confiscated. But when I left the country I recovered the images. A foreigner can be kidnapped for ransom. Mercenaries hold you at gunpoint. And while Maduro signed deals in Barbados with officials from other governments, at home that same day a journalist was burned alive because he was considered dangerous. Of course, I never delude myself that an article on a small news portal, or a video uploaded on social media like this one, can change anything, but if the nations compromised and these agreements had opened their eyes to the butt of a problem, we would also have understood that the mechanism can be interrupted. When in the United States the agreements have been made public, logically, the Americans should have blocked everything, economy and roads, showing contempt and disappointment at the choice to accept money at the expense of the Venezuelan people, and this should have been done by the Russian people when faced with the answer to the question, where does the oil we use come from? There are people who worry if Justin Bieber will ever come back with Selena Gomez, and in the meantime freedom is lost in the pile. And while free countries dance and laugh on the Chuck Palahniuk in his first novel called The Humming and Dancing Shit of the World, a country is deprived of the possibility of having an economy, and to you, the ability to know that you could have helped them, if only you had demonstrated, if only you had opposed it, because individually we may not be to blame, But as a community we are responsible for every single trauma received by the men, women, children and old people in Venezuela. And the question you should ask yourself as we talk about this wonderful country is, why what the hell is a bloodthirsty tyrant still there? We vote, we pay taxes and we suffer laws that are inappropriate to those who promised to protect us from dictatorship, and finally we make deals with those same dictators. How anesthetized has our consciousness been? We often remember the history of our country and we have no idea where we went wrong. On the other hand, we don't know how not to make the same mistake again, and history repeats itself, and it repeats itself in Venezuela. Simon Bolivar, after freeing Venezuela from the tyranny of the Spanish and Portuguese colonies, realized that it is more difficult to maintain the balance of liberty than to have to bear the weight of tyranny, and warning Venezuela for future times, he added, "The ignorance of a people is what blinds them to their own destruction." That's all from Chronicle.